Hello and welcome to Man on FM with me, Dan, and I thought I'd do a little experiment today. We'll find out how well Celtic and Rangers would do if they were in the Premier League. So the way I've set it up is the two bottom teams of this season, which were sadly Norwich and Watford. I have swapped them with Celtic and Rangers, and now I'm going to fast forward to the end of the season to see how well Celtic and Rangers do. Everyone there's a lot of debate. People think Celtic could win the Premier League, or they could be in top 6 at least, whereas other people think they are Championship level. But this is why I want to do this experiment. Let's see how far they can go. They will still have the same coaching staff, the same players, the same transfer budget, but we will find out how they do in the Premier League. I'm going to stop rambling now, and we're going to skip to, say, January, to see if this experiment is working, to see the transfers so far they did in the summer, and yeah, let's go. Let's find out. Catch you in a second. So here we are at January the 1st, and it's not looking good for the Scottish teams. Rangers are in the relegation zone at 18th, but Celtic is not far behind. They're only 17th, and they're 2 points ahead of them. It's not looking good for them, but it's definitely not looking good for Everton. That's a shocker. They've played one more game than them, and they've only got 12 points. Can Everton survive? I don't know, but we will soon find out. So let's just quickly have a look at Celtic and Rangers. I'm not going to go through this. I'm just going to quickly show you this screen. This is only going to be a short video. So this is the amount of goals they've scored and who the top goal scorer is, and the average ratings too. Here are the transfers from the summer. So spent 23 million this summer, but sold players worth 31.5 million. And I've set it so it's showing the latest ones. This is the formation they are playing. And as you can see, there's a couple of injuries here. So they've had an injury-ridden season, it seems. Now let's check out Rangers. So here we go. So there's less goals on here, obviously. And yeah, they've got more players with more goals, but they're just not enough. And here is the transfers for Rangers. They've only spent 600,000 this summer. No wonder they are struggling in the Premier League. And out, they have sold £13 million worth of players. And here is the formation for Rangers too. It doesn't look like they've had as many injuries as Celtic, but they're just unlucky, I think. The question is, have they played Celtic? Yes, they've played Celtic twice. So in the Premier League, it was a 0-0 draw, but they also played them in the Carabao Cup 3rd round and lost to Celtic 3-1. So Celtic are currently winning in terms of rivalry. They next play Celtic on the 30th of April towards the end of the season, and that could be significant. And I think this is a good time to skip now to the end of the season and hope that at least one of these Scottish teams stay in the Premier League for another season. So catch you in a second. And here we are at the end of the season. It's June the 1st, 2022. And unfortunately, Rangers are 18th place in the Premier League and now relegated. They got 8 wins, 7 draws and 23 losses with 31 points. Celtic just survived with 32 points. They got 8 wins, 8 draws and 22 losses. What surprised me is Everton survived. They got above Rangers and Celtic in the end with 34 points. Unfortunately though, Brighton was the casualty in this situation. Man City won the league with 98 points. And Newcastle got 7th, interestingly. The top goal scorer this season was Lukaku with 23 goals. Salah got the best average rating with 7.82. And Bruno Fernandes got the most assists with 14. Player of the Match awards was Salah with 10. Ederson got the most clean sheets. Or actually it was joint, both Ederson and Alisson on 18. No one cares about yellow cards. That's not a trophy. So let's go to our Scottish teams. Celtic here, this is how it laid out with the goals. They scored quite a few goals here. And this is why they survived. So they made one signing in January. They got marvellous Nakamba from Aston Villa on loan, and just recently they've signed Cameron Carter-Vickers from Tottenham for £2 million. For Rangers though, it didn't get much better. They didn't get the goals, they didn't get the delivery. It's unfortunate on their part. And they signed some players. They signed Paul Dummett from Newcastle for $625,000, and then they got Rob Elliott for $275,000 from Watford, but it just wasn't enough. Maybe they were getting ready for the Championship at this point. So it's unfortunate for Rangers, but I don't think this experiment is fair to do it for just one season. I think they need at least 3 seasons in English football to see how it balances out. So I'm going to skip now to the end of next season just to see if Rangers can bounce back into the Premier League, and can Celtic go even higher now that they've settled in the Premier League. Who knows? We're going to find out. Back in a second. We are now at the end of Season 2, or should I say the end of the 2023 season, and unfortunately Celtic have been relegated. They are drop bottom with 26 points. They only got 7 wins, 5 draws and 26 losses. That's an unfortunate end for Celtic in the Premier League. But let's just check their transfers, and they spent some money. They spent £72 million. It just wasn't good enough to keep them in the Premier League for one more season. So I'm not going to go through this, but you can see from this screen of the transfers that they made. And I'll quickly show you the formations that they played too. So this is how the team looked in most of the games. And I just thought I'd quickly show you the screen of the scheduling. And this is the results they got with certain teams, if you're interested in this kind of thing. So it wasn't great news for Celtic, but how did Rangers do in the Championship? Let's have a quick check. Well, that's good. That's one good thing. Rangers won the Championship. They have bounced back into the Premier League, which is great news. They got 92 points. They won 27 games, drew 11 and lost 8. But it's fantastic that they've bounced back to the Premier League. Let's check out their teams too. So in the transfer market this season, they only spent 21 million and they sold £27 million worth of players. So the net profit of 6 million is not bad, especially considering they won the Championship. Again, I'm not going to go through this, but feel free to look at all these transfers. I'll even set it to the highest price for you. So there we go. And just like Celtic, this is the team and the formation they were playing in the Championship, which they won. So, we've got one team that is going back to the Premier League and one team that's been relegated from the Premier League. I think it's time to do one final season with these two Scottish teams to see if they can pull the opposite again, probably. Will Rangers be relegated and Celtic promoted? Let's find out. I'm going to skip now. Back in a second. Wow, I am pleasantly surprised. Rangers have survived in the Premier League. They got 15th place. They won 12 games, 7 draws and 19 losses with 43 points at the end. They were survived by 6 points, which is great. Unfortunately, Brentford, Sheffield United and Bournemouth have been relegated. So let's look at Rangers' team for this season. So that's the amount of goals they've scored this season to survive. So here are the transfers for this season. They spent 56 million and sold 14 million pounds worth of players. Matty Cash was their highest signing for 11.75 million. And I'm not going to go through every one of these, but here you go. This is how it went down. And this is the formation they played. I don't know if it's official because this is how it's shown right now, but it could have been different. But you get the idea of the team they played. The biggest question is, have Celtic made it to the Premier League? Did they follow Rangers and win the Championship? Let's find out quickly. Unfortunately, they didn't. They got 4th place. They must have made the playoff. Let me just quickly check for you. So let's look in the final. Yeah, they made it to the playoff final, but lost to West Brom, unfortunately, in extra time. So they ended up with 4th place. 24 wins, 12 draws and 10 losses with 84 points. That's a shame for Celtic. Just missing out by 1 playoff spot. But let's look at their team. So they've scored some goals in the Championship, that's for sure. But let's look at their transfers. Very similar to Rangers, they spent 74 million this season, but sold 44 million worth of players too. So their highest signing this season was Max Kilman from Wolves. And again, I'm not going to go through all these. Feel free to pause and look through this yourself. But it's unfortunate that Celtic didn't make it to the Premier League. So overall, I think Rangers did better than Celtic. If I'm rightly, they got the highest position in the Premier League. So I'm counting them as the winners of the two Scottish clubs. So there we have it, guys. They're very similar to Norwich and Fulham. They go back and forth in the Premier League and the Championship. That is their level, according to Football Manager 2022. I hope you've enjoyed this experiment. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and hit that notification bell so you can see any other experiment I create in the next couple of months. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you at the next one. Peace!